So listeners, heed his advice. He gives it a solid 10. He's watched the show all the way through. Oh, Lynn, that is freaking creepy. Put your eyes back together. God dang it. What the hell?
Welcome to the Nerdentials podcast, starring your hosts, Joe Tweedy, Matthew Johnson, Nick Thomas, and Lynn Dudgeon.
Okay, Absolute's root beer flavored. That one I have. That's a bad one for me.
I've done the Smirnoff brand of root beer. Smirnoff has gotten a little exotic with their flavors. They're like Baskin Robbins 31. It's like they've got a line of sorbet flavors, like the sorbet. They've got sour apple. They did the red, white, and berry. They've got all their fruits, all their citruses, and then their super sweets like whipped cream, caramel. They have caramel. They have a caramel one.
Dude,
okay,
Big Corey's has 2 shelves dedicated to brunettes, just because of all their flavors.
Loopy is made by 3 Olives vodka.
Oh, the Fruit Loop one.
Yeah.
We have 3 Olives up here in our stores, so.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
Did Slime Rancher come out on Xbox for you guys?
maybe it has. I haven't seen it or looked for it.
Go check that one out.
Slime
That
Rancher.
one
What is that?
It was like a Steam store one, and you're a character, and it's kind of like you have a portal gun, but instead of portals, you suck up slime, and you shoot slime, and chickens, and carrots.
That was on free, I want to say 3 months ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, everything I've seen of it on Steam, it looks fucking badass.
Yeah, it's like a freaking. You're talking about the portal guns. It almost like it's very interesting. The little slimes that are everywhere. It's like you're a farmer and shit.
Yeah, like Harvest Moon, but with slime.
What is Slime Rancher about anyway, Lynn?
You're it's like Harvest Moon, but you have a portal gun and you suck up slimes and shoot slimes out, shoot chickens, grab carrots and stuff, and basically feed and grow plants and farm animals.
Sounds good, man. You know what? Let's just jump into it. Let's just get right in.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Balls
ready for
deep.
that? Oh, balls deep. Well, on that note, welcome to Nerdentials, your weekly dose of the nerdy essentials covering film, TV, video games, and comic books. I'm your host, Joe Tweeton, and with me today are 2 of my loveliest of cohorts. Up top, we've got the Lynn Dudgeon.
What up?
What up? And down below here, we've got the Nick Thomas.
Hey guys.
And the crowd goes wild. Hey, welcome here, welcome. We are short one Matthew Johnson this week. Possibly he might pop in later, but we're not holding our breath. We're just gonna go forward with a classic traditional Nerdentials episode. It's been a little while since we've done that. We're just going to do a classic Nerdentials episode. I don't know if anyone's seen any movies this week. There's a few TV shows I definitely want to talk about. And unfortunately, we've been a little saturated in our gameplay with a game that we fondly know as Destiny. So, for that, we'll give you guys the plugs on where to check out more about that if you're into that. Let me do a little housekeeping right off the back real quick. Housekeeping meaning Don't finger twitch me, Nick.
No, his finger's right across the screen.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. Lynn, what are you doing?
Sorry.
You're fine. I was just curious.
I don't know. I was readjusting my phone.
All right, fair enough. Leave you alone. So, on to some basic housekeeping. Peeps, Nerdentials listeners, you out there in the ether, guys, you on the YouTubes, we are kind of all over the place with this podcast. Wherever you're listening to now, share the word of nerd. Let your friends know. We're also on YouTube under Nerdentials. We can be found on iTunes and Google Play and practically anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. The big one, nerdentialsmedia.com. Nerdentialsmedia.com. Guys, you can email us, write comments, listen to our episodes, watch our videos. A little bit of everything for the nerds is on there, including articles and reviews. So
all in one beautiful place.
All in one beautiful place, nerdentialsmedia.com. That kind of is the basics. Our social media stuff, if you guys want to follow us, it's also found on that website. But the short quick of it, we're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram under the name Nerdentials. And we'll give you guys additional sources to look into at the end of our show if you're interested. That being said, guys, welcome to the show. I believe this will mark episode 42 of Nerdentials. 4-2. Yep. We're almost up on that 2-year anniversary. We've got some things planned for that, guys. So
it's going to be magical.
I'm going to hype it up a little bit. We're going to do some fun stuff for our 2-year anniversary sometime in October. That's what we're shooting for. Well, guys, let's get into the thick of nerdy conversations. It's been a while. We might be a little rusty at it, but got some things to share. That being said, I just want to ask the room real quick. Has anyone watched any movies that they would like to talk about or share in the last couple weeks?
Super Troopers 2.
Is it something you want to talk about?
Robin and I just watched it.
I'm looking for
3 or 4 weeks ago.
My hosting duties are a little sucky tonight. I'm looking for a segue opportunity, Lynn. So if there is like 1 or 2 titles you want to talk about, I would insert the sound right here.
Right here?
Right here. All right, guys, welcome to Movie Matters. One of us has a movie to briefly mention or recommend or talk about. It sounded like Lynn had something, so go for it, Lynn.
Yes.
What do you got?
Super Troopers 2. It very much keeps with their humor and the quality of the production company. And Robin and I definitely enjoyed it. I mean, if you're looking for something new, it's not like new.
It's not new.
Not new. But it's definitely worth the checkout.
Right. It had a lot of the characters come back for it, right?
All of the characters.
All Farva, Mac, Foster, and Thorny, among others.
Ramford.
Hey, I didn't know Sean William Scott was in this. Stifler?
Yeah. Yep, he is.
Trooper Callaghan, or Callahan. It's the character he played.
So is one of the Wayans brothers. He's also
Damon Wayans plays Trooper Wagner.
Yeah, his Stifler's partner, actually.
Nice.
But yeah, they start the movie off like making you think like they're not cops anymore. Spoilers. Making you think they're not cops anymore. But they're a band now, apparently. And
that's a new direction to take.
Right? It's a pretty wicked trip. And then they go back into being cops, but they're patrolling the U.S.-Canadian border.
Nice.
So there are Canadians in this movie.
Nice.
Like legit. How do you
Yeah.
do?
Like Mounties, and they make fun of the way that we say sorry. And we don't say it sorry.
I did see a movie.
All right, hold on real quick. Lynn, 1 to 10 scale, what kind of recommendation or rating would you give this one?
7 or an 8, definitely. It wasn't super outstanding. Didn't, it was. It's them. It's if you love them, you definitely watch it.
Right on. Yeah, I will. I mean, the first one is hilarious. I'll give the second one a try.
What's his face return, that comedian where they played the meow, where they were saying meow. What is that comedian's name? Drawing a blank.
I'm trying to think of
Take a hot pocket and just throw it straight in the toilet. It's the same thing. That comedian. Yeah. Oh well.
Hey, it's got Rob Lowe in it. That's interesting.
Yeah, and he's a Canadian in that movie too.
Hey.
Right on, dude. 7 or 8. If you're a fan of the first one, definitely check it out.
Broken Lizard makes some good stuff, so I'll have to watch it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Nick, I heard in the rafters that there was something you checked out.
Yeah, it came out this week. I have a dark sense of humor, so I loved it. I loved every second of it, and it.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
I sort of don't.
Happy Time Murders.
Oh snap! I've seen all the trailers. Okay, give us the spiel. What's the premise of this, dude?
Well, there's pretty much this cop played by the McCarthy, I think is her name.
Yeah, Melissa McCarthy. Yep.
Yeah, Melissa. Yeah. But she is investigating murders of an 80s show of puppets called the Happy Time Gang. They just start getting murdered, and she's investigating it. And there's just random shenanigans that happen, and they go over the top in some places. I read some reviews before I went into it, and they're saying it's the worst movie of the year. But I cannot agree with that. I loved it. Well, I was laughing. I'm one of those people that watch stuff like Team America and Meet the Feebles and genuinely laughed and chuckled the whole time. If you have that kind of sense of humor, you'll love it. Plus McCarthy brings her sense of humor to it.
So director Brian Henson for this film was actually a producer on a lot of similar projects, specifically Muppets. Muppets Christmas Carol, Muppets Treasure Island, which I haven't seen that one. And he also worked in Labyrinth. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. Go on, sorry, dude.
He's a Henson.
Well, and they set it up instead of them being puppets or puppets from a show, they're set up as like another race of people running around.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and like some of the people from the show are like leading questionable lives now.
Yeah.
I don't want to give anything away, but it's good. I liked it. Personally, I would give it a 6 out of 10 because of how I like my humor on it. But it gave me joy to watch it.
Only a 6 though for the amount of joy you got out of it. Because here's the way I look at our rating system.
Out of puppets.
Well, okay. I'm just kind of throwing this out there. We really need to find, we're almost 2 years in, guys. We need to find a really solid rating system that doesn't necessarily. Nicholas. Anyway, we need to find a good rating system that works towards the listeners as far as how we recommend stuff. Because critically that makes a lot of sense. Giving it only a 6 is probably justified. That's on the positive end from a critic standpoint. You know what I mean?
Well, better yet, out of a Muppet style movie, I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay, there you go.
So almost a Nerdamanjaro.
Yeah. I thought we were going with Nerdgasm.
Well, Nerdgasm's like a 10, dude.
Oh, okay.
He's saying almost
Yeah,
a 9. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. We need to work that out, though. So, listeners out there, just throwing this out there, if you've guys got some suggestions on a better way we can convey to you guys how we would rate things, because a 1 to 10 scale is great, but 6 is still positive. But then you wonder, okay, what's the difference between a 6 and a 7? And then 8 sounds like it's a highly recommended movie, but what's the difference between an 8 and a 9? And then what makes a movie a godlike movie when it's a 10? You know what I mean? So, like, that's what I'm throwing out there to the listeners, is maybe throw some suggestions our way. Hop in our Discord, links down below on the show, and or tweet at us, Throw out some thoughts on how you guys think we could improve our rating system. But for now, we'll use general terms, I guess, instead of a numbering system, just as far as like how strongly we would recommend it.
It's a good.
It's a good high recommendation. You know what I mean?
As we catch up.
So, you know what? Ironically, I almost forgot about a film I also recently watched within the last week that I kind of wanted to bring up. This one's not nearly as new as Nick's recommendation, as the Happy Time Murders just came out. And maybe not as old as yours. No, Super Troopers is actually probably newer than the one I'm about to bring up. Ex Machina. You're going sideways there, Lynn. Maybe your phone adjusted a little bit.
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. There you go.
Somebody
I watched it on Netflix too. It's good.
Okay, sweet. So we can have a little bit of back and forth on this. So, Ex Machina, I watched. It's a movie that had kind of been of interest to me for a long time, and it's been on Netflix for a while now, and I just hadn't checked it out. It came out back in 2014. Just a quick rundown, quick synopsis. A young programmer is selected to participate in a groundbreaking experiment in synthetic intelligence by evaluating the human qualities of a breathtaking humanoid AI. So, as the story goes, this stars Alicia Vikander. She's recently known for her role as the new Lara Croft in the newest Tomb Raider. Yeah, and she's been in a handful of other things in the past. But she did an outstanding portrayal of a synthetic AI in this movie. Secondary leading roles were led by Domhnall Gleeson and Oscar Isaac. Our very well-known Oscar Isaac now, who played roles such as Poe Dameron in the new Star Wars movies, and he played Apocalypse? No, Darkseid. He played Darkseid in... No! Oh my god, I'm ruining this here. The last X-Men movie. Apocalypse. Apocalypse in the last X-Men movie. I'm screwing up my nerd fandom here. Oscar Isaac has gotten a lot of roles in recent years. He kind of plays a fairly low-key character in this. He plays the genius guy that lives in a remote location surrounded by mountains in the middle of a forest. He's like super rich, and he's been building he's been working on a synthetic AI project where he's trying to create like the most human representative type of artificial intelligence, one where when you talk to it, you can't tell it's a robot. And he brings in Domhnall Gleeson, who is just kind of a low-level cubicle worker that works in his company. He won a lottery pull, is the premise for the storyline, where, hey, he got lucky, he got to get in on the project, learn about the process for making this AI, and he was going to do the Turing test. And now the Turing test. Shout out to Jeff Berry. He mentioned this in an older podcast that I recently re-listened to, and I completely missed what the Turing test was. It's basically where you talk to an artificial intelligence and you ask questions. It's you're running a test to find out if the artificial intelligence is humanly authentic enough to fool you, to where you're having a conversation with this AI and you can't tell it's a machine.
It was developed by Alan Turing back in 1950.
Thank you for the nerd facts, Nick. No, I'm not making fun of you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, definitely. So overall, it's a very short film. I mean, okay, not super short. I mean, it's an hour 40. But the movie went by pretty quickly. Mainly because I'm intrigued by AI myself, especially when it comes to like the sciences of simulating. Yes, Lynn, simulating human life. It's very fascinating, and yes, I know about the fears and like the scary side of, like when we look at the Matrix or Westworld, or in shows and movies like that, where you see AI becoming self-aware enough and then also using their intelligence to calculate out the idea of, do we really need humans to keep going, and just the danger that could imply. So this is definitely a very fun sci-fi flick that it's not super action-packed. It's more analytical. It's more philosophical in its presentation, where it's just a lot of, it's segmented into, so like every 5-10 minutes of film goes by, a title card comes up and it says Ava Session 3, Ava Session 4. And it's just kind of the movie's documenting each day that Domhnall Gleeson, our character actor here, is interacting with the robot and just asking her questions and getting to know her, basically, and getting her to practice her AI and development of interacting with a human. Really fascinating, very interesting, and it had a twist at the end that I was half expecting, but then it took like a second twist that I was like, oh, alright, interesting. Like, I don't want to see a sequel to this, and I'm sure, Nick, you probably agree with me when I make, without spoiling the ending, the way it ended, you're like, I'm really curious about what would happen now that this is taking place, but at the same time, it kind of ended almost in a philosophically perfect point that it's a self-contained story. I don't need to see a sequel. I enjoyed it thoroughly. How did you feel about the movie overall, Nick?
I was slow at points.
Sure.
But that's kind of the nature of that type of movie. And it was just, the whole thing was all about character building. You could actually see the growth of the AI throughout the whole thing. And then the realization of the person actually doing the testing. And it got more and more tense the longer it went. And he keeps throwing out a name, Domhnall Gleeson. If you guys don't know who that is, he was Bill Weasley in Harry Potter. And most recently, he's played as General Hux in the Star Wars movies.
Oh, yes, he has. That is the more well-known role I've seen him in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude. So I would say, as far as recommendations go for me, like, if you like the philosophical questions of what AI is and what it could be, if you're fascinated by that, this is a high recommendation. And if I was to throw a number on it, I'd give it an 8.5, 9. As far as, it wasn't too long for me, it didn't drag too much, and it was just It was just kind of fascinating to see where it would go. And maybe I'm overrating it. Nick, maybe you share similar but aren't quite as high. What do you give it, recommendation wise?
I'm right around an 8 with you on that. There was some segments of the movie that made me question, why did that have to be in there? And I like how the eccentric guy that owned it, Oscar Isaacs,
Yeah.
His character, he was kind of messed up.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he's a hermit.
With a god complex.
In personality, had a little bit of a god complex, had kind of almost a hippie lifestyle. Like he would work out, he'd get drunk. He lives by himself, and all he has is his AI project with him. You know, which you learn some interesting things about how human physically he made them, not just in the AI department, and that led to some interesting like curiosity points. Like, man, how is it? What's really going on in his head? Like, yeah, he's a super genius. He's kind of a recluse, doing this project on his own with his own money, kind of thing. It's very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. He's kind of an odd character, to be sure.
Definitely an odd duck. But I liked it.
For sure.
All right, I got some good shows, too.
Sweet. Well, guys, that's going to conclude our Movie Matters segment of this show.
And movies do matter.
They do. Thank you,
to
Liv.
some.
Thank you for re-emphasizing the title. That being said, guys, let's shift over to TV talk, shall we? Hey, Luke, quick question, Len. A few podcasts back, I made a segment thing, and then you and Matt both went, "Booloo, booloo, booloo." What's that from? What is that from?
That is from what is that? That's that stupid. It's a Mike Myers thing. It is.
I knew you guys both knew you were referencing the same thing. I just wasn't familiar with it, so I kind of glossed over it.
What is that stupid movie? Wayne's World. Okay. It's the flashback sequence. Both him and Garth go.
Okay. I'm gonna re-listen to that episode. Cause I've been backtracking some of our older like classic episodes, so I've been looking for classic ones that I remember were really good, and I've been re-listening to them. Man, some of the references that are made that I just completely mowed over on you guys is purely because I had no idea what the reference was.
Yeah, that's their flashback sequence.
So you know what I'm gonna do on our 2-year anniversary recording when all the gang is together. We're going to share our experiences and times of the last 2 years, and we're also going to share like why we're nerds and why we got involved with this. And that's going to be something I bring up is during the 2 years of this show, I've glossed over a lot of references from you guys because I was completely clueless.
Or the episode where all three of us annoyed you with the Pee-wee's Playhouse. Ah!
I know. I recently re-listened to that. That was E3 mentioning. Anytime we said E3, we're like, ah! That was fun to re-listen to, though.
That was a good episode. I'm not even gonna lie.
That was fantastic. Let's continue the magic, shall we? So I just gave our segue.
Segway. You have to do another one of these.
All right, nerds. Welcome to TV Talk. Today we have a few TV shows that we've recently watched or watched not too long ago that we wanted to talk about and discuss because we think they are worth your guys' attention. That being said, I want to throw the reins over to Nick for a little bit and let someone else yap their mouth a little bit. So go ahead, Nick. Tell us what you've been into lately.
Both me and my wife started watching a show. It's actually really good. It's kind of like a medical drama, police drama, rescue drama, all rolled up into one. And the way they do it is actually really good, and it's got a lot of character building and stuff. It's called 911. I think they're working on their third season.
Where is this playing right now, Nick?
I'm watching it on Netflix. No, I'm watching on
Prime?
Hulu.
Oh, Hulu, okay.
Hulu.
Yeah.
Hulu. That's the good one.
It's a good one, Lynn.
Yeah, that's what I've been
It is.
watching.
All of Rick and Morty on Hulu.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Hats off to you.
And
Go on, Nick.
and the other one is a Netflix original. I started watching.
Whoa.
Oh, sorry.
Was that the extent of your TV mentions of the 911? Is there anything else you want to elaborate on? Or
it's got a lot of it's
recommendation about it? How much did you like it? It's got Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Yeah.
Angela Bassett, she's phenomenal.
If you like that style of show, this is a 10 out of 10. It's really engaging. And they always end on like a cliffhanger and you're like, what the I can't stop now. What the heck's going to happen next?
Oh, it's one of those shows. I like that, dude. It's got a 26 episode wait, sorry, my bad. It's got a 10 episode season 1. So that's all that's out right now. And you're watching it on Hulu?
Yeah.
Nice.
Hold on.
Lynn?
Are the cliffhangers like daytime soap cliffhangers, or are they like end of season cliffhangers each episode?
Yeah, what's the level of cliffhanger we're talking?
They go back and forth. They're almost like Prison Break cliffhangers.
So it's a roller coaster of cliffhangers?
Yeah.
Not quite the Dukes of Hazzard cliffhangers where it's like, tune in next episode to see what Bo and Duke get into, but it's like...
It's like a... Wait a minute, are they going to be okay kind of cliffhanger?
Yeah. No, it's kind of cool. Like, you get to see the aspect of their lives throughout the whole thing. So it goes from a 911 operator. I forget the actress that plays as her, but she's actually doing a really good job in it.
Like what? Dispatch?
Yeah.
Like dispatch?
Dispatch operator. And everything she's going through, and she's like narrating, saying, I go through all this and blah, 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 but I never actually get to hear everything happen. We never get the glory, blah, blah, blah. And it goes through the whole operator and her role. Then it jumps over to the paramedics and the firefighter rescue group. That's kind of the central to the whole show. And then
like the people that are actually involved in the dispatch of the operator.
Exactly. And then the other one.
But it continues on the story of the dispatch, correct?
Correct. Yeah. It starts with the dispatcher. She gets the call, and it's usually her talking through it, and then it's transferring over to the next people. And then the other side of it is Angela Bassett's character is a police officer.
Ooh.
And there's a lot of character drama with her and her family and stuff, so it's kind of cool there.
What does Jennifer Love Hewitt do then?
I haven't seen her yet. Actually.
Really? You haven't seen her? She plays a character called Maddie.
Or I might not have recognized her.
You might not recognize her because it lists her as being in all 16 episodes. That are so all of season 1.
They probably like changed her hair color or something.
They might have
fucked with Nick.
I didn't mean to call you out, Nick. I just because I'm looking at the actual casting here, so I was just curious. Like I don't remember her.
He's probably not putting the name with the face. He's probably seen her. Just he didn't. I don't necessarily say recognized her, but
then there's the actor Ryan Guzman, who doesn't have a character name listed, but he's like a lead actor in the show. I failed to watch this show prior to talking about it, so I can't help you out here, Nick. Sorry.
But yeah, he'll call you out on it.
But also, do you recognize her now?
I'm trying to find her.
Being in the show.
The main actress that plays as the dispatcher is Connie Britton.
Okay.
She's what movie is she? She's in Nashville.
She was also, I think she played the wife in American Horror Story season 1, like the very first season.
I think you're right on that.
Dude.
That was a while back.
Yeah, she was American Horror Story. Friday Night Lights.
And she's in, you said Nashville?
Yeah.
With Hayden Panettiere.
Yep.
Right
the
on, dude.
cheerleader.
Yes, the cheerleader from Heroes. Oh, Heroes. You had
Also,
your time.
I would say the main character from Until Dawn.
Oh, and Ryan Guzman is actually from the reboot of Heroes, Heroes Reborn, according to the top billed cast. I don't know what character he plays in the movie, but
hold on. Let me bring it back. How many seasons of the show are there of 9/11?
one.
I thought they were on season 2 started.
And as I had listed before, there's only 10 episodes of season 1. So Jennifer Love Hewitt supposedly is in all of them. I'll check the show out, Nick, and we'll hunt her down.
I gotta figure out where she's at.
Yeah,
they gave her,
figure that out.
No, watch. They gave her like a background character role. I betcha.
Randomly walking in and out of the camera.
For every
She's
episode.
like, "Hey guys, I'm a big name, but hey guys."
Yeah. So yeah, I like
it. Right on.
It's actually really intriguing. It keeps your mind occupied on it. The characters you want to succeed, and some of the characters you're like, you deserve it, and they get you involved.
I like that, and if it's well written, I can get into medical dramas and rescue.
Yeah, it's not
dramas.
the typical like medical drama. You don't go into like all the medical forensics behind it and all that, like House or any of them do. But you get into like, oh, this person's about to die. This is what we got to do. We got to get them over here, and no, don't move them too fast. Well,
it's dare I say realistic.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm looking at all the screenshots, and I too do not see Jennifer Love Hewitt. So next time, nerds, we'll reconvene in a future episode and tell you where the hell she is in 9/11.
No, watch. She's one of those hidden characters that they had in the background. I betcha.
She might be. At this point, I'm almost believing that theory, Lynn.
If she's in all 10 episodes, she's hidden in the background somewhere.
It's at all 16.
Well,
16, the IMDb also includes the first few episodes of season 2. So, I don't know, dude. We'll come back to that. I have no idea what that's all about, because I don't see her anywhere either.
She's secretly costume design.
Maybe.
No, in this movie, she's a dude. No, I'm joking. I don't know.
Whoa, spoilers.
I mean, she's listed as a character, so that's the weird part.
Yeah, I don't remember Maddie.
Okay, well, let's come back to that. Let's not spend too much more time on that. Okay. All right, so, Nick, I watched this next show that we're going to talk about. I saw only the pilot episode. Purely because I've watched so much this week, I didn't have any more time to go forward with it. But you've watched a lot of it, if not all of it. So
I binged it in one day.
Well,
there you have it.
Golf clap. Here we go.
Netflix original.
Go ahead. So, blah blah blah. All right, here we go. Go ahead, Nick.
Netflix original. Disenchantment.
Yes, I heard about this from another podcast, and I was like, what is that? And I looked it up. Sure enough, creator Matt Groening, who's known for The Simpsons and Futurama, went ahead and made another genre comedy animated series set in a fantasy world.
Yep. So,
give us a rundown of what this show is about, seeing as you binged the whole dang season.
They got a few arcs in here which are actually really kind of cool. You first meet the main character, who is the princess of a kingdom, a very poor kingdom.
Princess Bean of all names.
Yes.
Of all names.
Yeah, she's very rebellious, drinking, partying, all this type of stuff. You can't get out of a Groening show without someone that does that.
She is the tomboy of princesses.
Yes. There's a few other characters they follow closely, but with her story kind of comes on her birthday, and that's where you get introduced to another character that's a big part in it, Lucy, the demon.
Oh yes, Pendergrast.
Yeah, yeah. And then another main character you get introduced into is from the Happy Land of Elves. His name
Affectionately
is very,
named.
very, 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 very affectionately named. His name is Elfo.
He's
Probably my favorite character in the whole show.
he's voiced by Nat Faxon.
No.
Um,
I think Bean's father is voiced by the same person that plays as Bean. I mean, as Bender.
let me look that real quick. Let's see.
Oh.
Let's look at the. Okay, here. Let me just list off
Jake-
the head of.
Jake from Adventure Time.
Let me give you guys the rundown of voice actors here. We got Abby Jacobson who plays Bean.
Where she played in.
She's been in like the Lego Movie, Ninjago, and Neighbors 2, and you know, I mean, so she's kind of like a small time, like kind of an up and coming actress. But we've got Eric Andre who plays as Lucy, the demon. He did Azizi in The Lion King. He's been in a couple other things as far as voice acting, but not a lot of major movies. Nat Faxon as Elfo. John DiMaggio plays King Zog.
Yes,
he was Bender.
John DiMaggio was in Futurama as Bender. He did Crosshairs in the Transformers movie.
Jake from Adventure Time.
And Jake from Adventure Time. Good call in. That is true.
Brother Blood from Teen Titans.
There you go. Yeah.
We've got Tress MacNeille, who voices Queen Una, the Fairy, and a handful of others. She's done voices for like The Simpsons, Hey Arnold, Futurama. She's done a lot of cartoon voices.
Yeah, it seems like he brought in a lot of his old voices that have played in his shows.
Yeah. And there's some other noteworthy voice actors here, but it's a long list of big talent. But coming from Matt Groening, he's got his connections, obviously, with almost 30 years of The Simpsons under his belt.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, he knows what voices he wants to voice what.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The show almost reminds me of like Futurama meets The Princess Bride.
Yes. That word that hesitantly works.
You killed my father. Prepare to die.
It just the feel of it kind of reminds me of like a D&D game, but the way they react to everything and just handle everything, just like some of it's nonchalant, like what the hell just happened? In
the pilot episode alone, there were a bunch of comedy beats that someone who's not familiar with Matt Groening or The Simpsons, or you know, what I mean, as far as the style of comedy goes, might just like see these comedy beats and watch them with a blank face, be like, "Heh," but knowing where the humor comes from a little bit and being familiar with some of that past work of Futurama and Simpsons, a lot of it. Here's the thing: I will admit, though, only one episode in, and what I heard from a couple other people that recommended this show is that the comedy beats are there. The situations are funny, but they're not grab at you, laugh out loud moments. They're kind of like internal chuckles. You're like, ha, they made that comment, or ha, they went there with that. But it's not laugh out loud. But I found myself about halfway through the pilot episode, as more situations started escalating, I found myself, because I'm more familiar with this kind of humor and also like things like Rick and Morty, where there's character building behind the humor. I started finding myself finding the comedy a little stronger towards the last half of the episode, and I actually openly chuckled a few times at some of the things. Maybe a little bit from nostalgia from the other series that we've watched that have this kind of humor. Um, you're saying you loved the whole season as a whole,
10
yeah?
out of 10 for me.
Like give us a summary of your feelings of how it progresses from your feelings from episode 1 to episode 10. Like give us kind of like just a brief picture of how you felt about it at the beginning to how you ended feeling it.
Well, it's a nice comedy, and unlike most of Futurama or Simpsons or anything like that, Simpsons, Futurama, all that seems to be like episodic. It's not following an arc or anything. This actually follows an arc all the way through,
Right. Mm-hmm.
which was really kind of cool that he did it this way, because stuff that happens in the first episode is going to happen at the end of the season, and it's all going to tie together.
References. Mm-hmm.
And I like that when people do that in their shows. I'm not saying what those things are,
Yes.
but
That builds investment in your
Yeah.
watching.
exactly. But you have so much character building in something that's meant to be a comedy. They actually took the time to build those characters. Which
See, and that right there, that is rewarding to fans of the show. People
Yeah.
who come back, episode after episode and pay attention to that and hold on to that. Whereas most of the shows nowadays, like what Joe is saying, where there's that, it's there's no arc, and you can come in whenever you feel like, and it's rewarding when shows like this do that.
Yeah.
Like this and Rick and Morty. If you come into Rick and Morty like halfway through season 2, you're like, what the hell?
yeah,
And those shows, including this one, will still have moments that might allow you to laugh out loud at them. But I think through and through, though, it's one of those things you got to come in at the beginning and kind of just stick with it and see where it goes. And when you allow yourself to do that, the intensity of the fandom for it will just explode once you stick with it long enough.
this had one of those moments for the first time in probably 10 years that I've actually spit out my drink
Nice.
in a good way.
Nice.
But no, it kind of has that whole humor that Matt Groening has with the Princess Diaries, and the other one I was trying to think that they kind of throw in that humor type, Monty Python Holy Grail. It has that feel to it.
Yeah, there's a dryness to the humor that you kind of have to just observe and take in, and then realize what it is they're doing, and then you can you rewatch it and you'll laugh over and over again. And it's also the kind of humor where you can quote it to a friend that gets it, and you can both laugh even harder after referencing it.
Like with the shrubbery.
Yeah. Yes.
No, I can guarantee it that this show is going to be quotable for the years to come.
It'll definitely end up in memes. It'll end up in memes for sure.
So, Nick, I have a good guess at your rating and recommendation level, but why don't you go give our listeners the spiel?
10 out of 10.
Oh!
No modifiers, no nothing.
No pluses or minuses.
No.
No hits. No hits to armor class. No 20-sided die roll.
No.
Nothing to chance.
Nope.
It's just Nat 20 Tiger's Blood all the way.
Beautifully put. Okay. All right. Well, in light of that,
Netflix and IMDb writes this as the medieval misadventures of a hard-drinking princess, her feisty elf, and her personal demon.
Sounds like a D&D campaign.
that's a beautiful summary, though. I mean, that's short and sweet and to the point. All of that unfolds in the first 30 minutes of the pilot, man. That whole spiel. I mean, in the first 30 seconds, she's putting down drinks on a bet and winning money at a bar. So, you're in for a long haul. Nick, I will. I need to watch the rest of the season before I can give it the same recommendation you do. So purely from my perspective, based on the pilot alone, I give it a strong recommendation with a 7, and that's not like I listened to other people talk about shows and give their ratings, and I kind of like delivering this perspective. Here's the thing: I'm basically giving you guys you need to sample this and try it out. I give you guys my recommendation just as someone who checked out the pilot alone, but Nick has always recommended excellent things. I've never been disappointed by something Nick recommended me. So listeners, heed his advice. He gives it a solid 10. He's watched the show all the way through. Oh, Lynn, that is freaking creepy. Put your eyes back together. God dang it. What the hell? Your eyes were literally going in two different directions looking up. The f***, man? Stop that. How do your eyes do that? Are you just looking up, or are you actually... Can you tell that you're forcing them to go sideways?
No, I can control them.
Holy f***, dude. If I had known you had that talent, I'd have been like, hey, let's go creep out our kids for a second.
Right? Just for a second, though.
Yeah, we're gonna... listeners out there, this is gonna be this is gonna be right here. I'm gonna timestamp it. I'm not gonna remember the timestamp, but 1 hour 11 minutes in, this is gonna be the intro to the episode, and you're gonna have to wait an hour into the episode before you find out the context for this of me freaking out. I love doing that. I love finding something comical that we talked about or that happened, and then throw it into the intro, and people are like, well, I gotta sit through the episode and find out where that happened. I want to know what happened. I've done that a few times. Like when he was talking about louvered shades on cars, and we were both like, what are you talking about? We were talking about that Netflix original series, Altered Carbon. And then the other time, not too recently, I listened to another episode where we said, Lynn, how much have you had? And he's like, well, I've had 2 shots of Robin's mom. And me and Matt were both like, what the fuck? Because he didn't realize he worded it that way. He meant to say with Robin's mom. But then I told Amy in the middle of the recording, and she was like, ha ha ha. Like those were some of my favorite intros to our episodes. Our reactions we had in the middle of the episode that were absurd, and then I throw it into the beginning. So anyway, Lynn, thank you for giving us the awkward eye movement thing. Another recent intro was when you did this to the camera, and we saw the crevice of your arm. I'm like, what is that, Lynn? And I freaked out. That was recent.
Well, now that you brought up Altered Carbon, though, did you guys hear who's taking over as Takashi?
Oh,
the Falcon.
Gosh.
I knew he was... Let's save that for later. Okay. We can definitely talk about it when it comes closer to premiering.
Yeah.
Me and Lynn seem to have the same reaction. We love McKinnon.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all understand the premise of the show. Bodies are interchangeable, but the character stays the same. I get it. That allows them to extend the show for a very long time, like Doctor Who. So easy. Regen his body every 3 years. I was just hoping they do something more like that, where they give him 2 or 3 seasons, then swap him out.
My thing is, I don't know if I would sign a contract for a show like that if you know that you're so easily interchangeable.
Well, he probably signed a 1-season contract. You know what I mean? Like, he probably already knew.
But at the same time, if you start investing, I know when I start like in an engine, if I invest into an engine, I want to see it through and fucking have the engine rebuilt.
Oh, I know, dude, and I think we all feel the same way about movies or shows. You know, when there's an investment there, you don't want to see a left hook this early in.
Like maybe somebody said, "Oh yeah, your body's total." Okay, and then they switch his consciousness over to the other body, but then somebody else takes over his old body. That would be a trip to see his old body come back. I mean, but
It fell with the floating
Yeah.
place.
yeah, I
It was
know.
destroyed.
Well, yes, there was a dramatic end to the show.
Yeah,
know.
but
It-
I'm using it as a like I'm saying like in a metaphorical sense. It I don't know.
Anyway, no, it's a good point and a good conversation to have in a future episode, like maybe when season 2 premieres, and we go check it out and see how good or bad it ends up being. So we'll definitely need to stay tuned for that. And yeah, I was a little. I was a. Huh?
Maybe flashbacks. We'll get his old body.
Yeah, maybe. He was. I really liked him. Anyway, moving on. So, guys, we've covered 911. We've covered Disenchantment. Lynn, did you have anything obscure you wanted to share? Or I know what I'm about to share you've already seen, so we can talk about that. Is there anything external?
I figured out the show that I have been watching on a side note, and that was the new season of Fooly Cooley. I went and watched all of that, but
Wait.
Anime?
You came out with a new season of Fooly Cooley?
yeah, season 2. You haven't seen that? For
No.
real?
Lynn's
Like not on Adult Swim?
Nick's upset.
Dude, I am obsessed with that show. I love the soundtrack. I love the characters from the first one, and the soundtrack in the new one just carries over. It's still the what is that band called? The Pillows. The music is just on point with the new season,
They waited years to release that.
right? And they're contracted for 2 seasons. So
2 more? Like,
yeah,
one you
like
saw?
they're in. No, they're in season 1, and then they're going to release season 2. So go check that out.
What's the name of it again?
FLCL?
Fooly?
FLCO. Fooly.
Would they remake
We
it?
can cut this out, but how the hell do you spell that?
FLCL.
F
Yeah, just type in FLCL into IMDb. And it's called, what is that?
Okay, here it is.
Hold on,
It's one of those over-the-top animes.
yeah.
It's all good.
I love
Like-
my over-the-top animes.
Like you smash a guitar into a dude's head and a robot comes out of it.
I've seen the
and
trailers
he
for
saves
this.
you
Okay.
the destruction of the universe.
Like that over-the-top feel is actually what
But
I missed Fooly Cooley.
But in this one, they follow a female character, which is a total trip from the first season, where it was all male. And in the pilot episode, you actually run into the male character from the first season. And it is great.
Well, if you remember correctly, the first season, all the jokes were like erection jokes about the
Yep.
robot coming out of his
Like-
forehead.
The giant robot
Man.
horn pointing out of his forehead.
This
Yeah.
thing is circa 2000, dude. This is 18 years old.
Yeah. And now they're coming out with season
Oh,
It's badass.
dude. Fooly Cooley was an
The shit.
amazing anime from that era. Dude, I'm not even gonna lie. And the reason to get into it is the music. Like, the soundtrack is just amazing.
I felt the same way about a freaking Gurren Lagann.
Oh, yeah, Gurren Lagann is a good one.
On a quick
Yeah.
side note, where's the easiest, quickest way to watch Fooly Cooley?
Doesn't Adult Swim have their online free stream?
They do, and it's like right now it's only 1 or 2 episodes, though, because they're in the current season.
I may have removed it on accident. I didn't mean to do that, but there's an anime streaming app. What's it called?
Which
Well, it
one?
says Fooly Cooley is on Adult
Crunchyroll.
Swim.
Crunchyroll. Is it on Crunchyroll? Probably.
It's on Funimation.com. So if you have their app, you can watch it on Funimation.
It's probably on Crunchyroll if it's on Funimation.
Well, it's
Maybe.
Crunchyroll. It's on Crunchyroll.
It's owned by Funimation though. So
well, I know a lot.
it
What I'm saying is I've had Crunchyroll for a long time, and a lot of Funimation shows are found on Crunchyroll. That's all. Yeah.
Like that's where the Crunchyroll is, where the boys watch Naruto.
800 episodes later.
Right?
There's so much stuff on there, dude.
I can't stand Naruto, but that's fine.
Man,
good.
to each his own. To each his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I was a Hunter x Hunter watcher, and Naruto just seems like a ripoff to me.
Yeah, I guess if you view it from that point, yeah.
View it that way, as in linear, saying, yeah, if you want to, go ahead. But is there an actual factual difference between one came before the other?
No, it's I guess it's just predecessor.
Yeah, it came before.
So physically, it was before. Is all I was wanting to clarify.
Yeah, that's all that it is.
Okay.
And Naruto is just.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I said the person that wrote Naruto said he got a lot of his inspiration for it from Hunter x Hunter.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And
I wasn't crapping on any one specific show.
No,
I was just curious.
You're good. And Naruto just got picked up by Bandai, so it became more mainstream than Hunter x Hunter did.
And long running, because freaking Bandai doesn't know when to quit.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Power Rangers, anyone? No, sorry.
Bandai forces them to continue on the story, and then that's what they did. I mean, after Pain, it just kind of seemed a little forced.
This is really healthy for our show, guys. We don't talk. The couple things we don't talk about very often is we don't touch on anime very often, but I feel like there's a good audience out there for it. And
I have a feeling if you let me and Lynn loose on anime, we can go crazy here.
That's dude. Listen to me. Like
we could unload anime onto you for like days upon end.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for the anime conversation we just had. I'm a shift. I'm not going to talk about everything. Nick already talked about Disenchantment by Matt Groening that we're checking out. I've got a couple quick fire shows that I know none of you have watched. Well, not all of you have watched it. So we'll just briefly, I'll mention them, give you guys my recommendations. So, the first show I checked out a few weeks back is a Starz original series by the name of Counterpart. Counterpart. Thank you, Nick, for the thumbs up, and Lynn for the excitement. So I'm going to give you guys just a quick rundown of what Counterpart is. So, it's a show starring J.K. Simmons as the character Howard Silk. He's more famously known for his roles as J. Jonah Jameson, the editor at the newspaper in New York City for the Spider-Man films, the older Spider-Man films, and more recently as Commissioner Gordon in the DCEU. He's been in a lot of other things too. He's kind of an older actor, but phenomenal. The show also stars Olivia Williams as Emily Silk, his wife, and two other characters, Harry Lloyd as Peter Quayle and Nazanin Boniadi as Claire. I don't know her in too many things, but these four characters... Huh?
Peter Quill.
Peter Quayle. Quail like the bird. Not quill like the pen.
Not like the pen.
Right. So, the synopsis for this show is Counterpart is about a mysterious world hidden beneath the surface of our everyday existence. Howard Silk is a lowly cog in the bureaucratic machinery of a Berlin-based United Nations spy agency. When Howard discovers that his organization safeguards the secret of a crossing into a parallel dimension, he is thrust into a shadow world of intrigue, danger, and double cross, where the only man he can trust is his near identical counterpart from this parallel world. Title drop, and we're getting a psychedelic trip by Lynn.
Yeah, the few episodes I watched of it kind of remind me of Fringe.
Really?
Well, Fringe, it's all about the other universe.
Okay, but isn't Fringe a little more episodic as opposed to like overarching?
Yeah, and they went the more X-Files way of it,
Right,
but
more
the other one is
investigative, yeah.
more the intrigue side of it. So
Okay, so just to tie off the end of this, the show explores themes of identity, fate, lost love, and poses the eternal question: what if our lives could have been different? Now, so just to give you guys a quick layout of like the very first episode, and kind of what led me to really get sucked into this show is J.K. Simmons, who's been in a lot of small roles over the years, nothing, super notable per se. I would say his role in this show is definitely award winning, and let me explain why. We're introduced to Howard Silk, who, like they said, a lowly cog in the grander picture of the bureaucratic machinery, whatever government agency. He works a desk job. He's very conservative. Doesn't bother anyone. He kind of just plays a very quiet, solemn character that doesn't get involved in anything, and his job is extremely boring and extremely simple. Lynn, what's up with the creep? I kind of half paused because I want to know what's up with the creep.
I don't know.
Okay. I'm gonna continue. You're fine, Nick. I asked Lynn what was up with the creep because he's in a very dark room and doing a weird thing, and you were talking to Gretchen, so I just paused for a second there. And my cat just took a massive shit, and it stinks up the whole apartment. Throwing that out there for you guys.
dude, that's shitty.
Yeah, very. Panda. All right. Okay, here we go. Before we get too sidetracked. So really, I mean, just an incredibly boring life is what he leads. His bosses randomly, in the middle of his workday, call him into the office to discuss that they need him to be part of a bigger project. He gets led into a dark room, and when he walks into that room, he sees a mirror image of himself sitting at this table, and instantly, it's like seeing your identical twin sitting in the middle of a room at a table, and it's shocking, it's confusing. So he gets led into the room to have a conversation with the parallel version of himself. And basically, the premise of the show, I gave you guys the synopsis, but basically what's been happening is back in the 1980s, the government of our world discovered a gateway to a parallel version that was identical in every way to us of our world. Everyone has a duplicate version of themselves, and over time they would begin to refer to their parallel versions as their others. So like my other, the Joe twin of myself in that universe, is my other. And as soon as that gateway was opened and discovered, both worlds started taking dramatic turns into different events. Everyone's life started going in different directions. It was no longer just a duplicate copy of ourselves. And so like up to that point, they would have shared memories of everything being the same up until the gate opened, and then everything happened in a different way with everyone else. So, like, J.K. Simmons' doppelganger character that he's meeting, he's a lowly cog in a desk job guy, nothing interesting. His duplicate in the other world is a high-level secret agent who's gone out and assassinated people before. Like, he's at one of the highest levels of government. And it's like, how did my twin become this crazy operative agent, and I've stayed this conservative, quiet guy that's never amounted to anything? You know what I mean? So it immediately builds this interest of, okay, what's going to happen now? What kind of interactions are we going to see? So he gets brought in because there have been a number of assassins that have been sent over from the other side to our side and taking people out. Systematically, but without any specific pattern.
Kind of like the movie One.
Yeah, kind of, except it's not one person trying to take out all the versions of himself like One with Jet Li.
Yeah.
Similar concept where it's a parallel world, but so the two governments on either side have diplomacies in place where we're not going to let the civilians of our sides know that there's a duplicate version of ourselves. So it's purely maintained as a diplomatic, peaceful thing between the two governments. And one of the huge events that happened is the other side got the flu, and 7% of the world population died because of it, and our side never suffered that catastrophe. We experienced the flu, but we developed, immunities, we developed a medicine and all that. So we survived, but 7%, several million people died on the other side. So there's a faction of people on the other side that are raising up agents from childlike age to believe that the other side caused our world to get the flu, and see that nothing happened to them, they're fine, but they introduced the flu to us and we couldn't combat it, and we lost family, wives, husbands, and children. So there's this little, a radical group outside of the government that's been training these children to replicate their others on the other side so that they can eventually be sent over as agents to replace their original and infiltrate the world in some crazy bigger arcing picture that hasn't happened yet. Major cliffhanger at the end of season 1, and we don't know what's going to come of this, but it's deep, it's dark, it's heavy. It's a Starz original series, and J.K. Simmons, I think, very easily could win some awards because I have never seen really an actor completely portray the same character with two dramatically different personalities. Like, he's in the same room with himself, right? You've got the timid, conservative, I've never done anything with my life version of himself, and then you've got the high-level assassin secret agent who won't bat an eyelash for even a second at taking someone down. And it's just they swap places. There's crazy consequences and circumstances. It's a fun ride. It's like, I think 10 episodes, 8 or 10 episodes, hour long. Starz original series Counterpart starring J.K. Simmons. Highly recommend. I give this show a 10.
Check it out.
Solid 10. Solid 10. It's very unfortunate that you guys haven't seen this yet, so I look forward to you guys at least checking out like the pilot at some point if either of you can, and I'll get you guys a hookup or something to be able to do that.
Seen the first 2 episodes.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay, dude, I didn't want to completely ignore your thoughts. What were your opinions on just the first 2 episodes?
Well, like I said, the whole idea of like the dimensional Cold War makes it reminiscent of Fringe, and I love that show.
Right, but the approach is a little bit different.
Yeah. Oh, and Simmons has a certain way of acting that does it justice.
Yeah, and I mean, do you agree that like he really separated his two versions, like from the little bit of time you spent seeing him?
Yeah.
He's definitely two different characters, but it's the same guy. So I was very impressed with that. Anyway, yeah, keep like watch some more of that show if you can, and Lynn, we'll get you some kind of hookup because you gotta at least watch the pilot just to see how crazy it is.
Some time off.
Yeah. Next up, we might wrap the show up with this. We talked about quite a few things, so I'll wrap up the show with. So guys,
I could.
the last show I wanted to wrap up with talking about is it came out almost a year ago. Season 2 is on its way, but I just got into it and I thought let's talk about it before season 2 hits. And that is the Starz original series American Gods, adapted from the books by Neil Gaiman. And presented in an 8-episode format on Starz. This show I've heard other people recommend it and review it. It's gotten high regards from a wide range of fans, even from the books. Lynn and his wife Robin have read the books. They're very familiar with the books, at least, and Lynn will walk us through a few differences that may or may not take away from how much he enjoyed the show. But let me just give you guys a general idea and my rating on it, having not seen any or having not read any of the books. So I'll give you the synopsis really quick for the show. The synopsis is Shadow, specifically Shadow Moon, is a man with a past, but now he wants nothing more than to live a quiet life with his wife and stay out of trouble, until he learns that she's been killed in a terrible accident. And guys, that's not a spoiler, it's first 5 minutes as far as the show is concerned. Wife killed in a terrible accident. Flying home for a funeral, as a violent storm rocks the plane, he is greeted by a strange man in the seat next to him. The man calls himself Mr. Wednesday. He knows more about Shadow than seemingly is possible, and he warns Shadow that a far bigger storm is coming, and from that moment on, nothing will ever be the same. And in another description, I've heard this show described as a battle of the new gods versus the old gods.
Exactly what it is.
That's exactly what it is. This premise is more of just the introductory to the pilot episode, more than the description of the show as a whole. But let me just list off a couple of the cast here, just because some of you guys will be familiar with the cast, you listeners. Ricky Whittle is a little less familiar to me, but he's the leading man playing Shadow Moon, and he played several seasons in The 100, and his history comes from a soap opera known as Hollyoaks. He actually played a couple hundred episodes in a soap opera before he got his name in more actual dramas, if you will, real dramas. He did excellent in this. His wife in the show, Emily Browning, she's a little more newer, a little more green on the Hollywood side of things. She plays Laura Moon. She's most recently known as playing Baby Doll in the movie Sucker Punch by Zack Snyder.
Good movie, good soundtrack right there.
And good visuals. Even if the plot sucked, excellent visuals. That's Zack Snyder for you. And she also played the girl Violet in A Series of Unfortunate Events starring Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Those are like the two more well-known movies she's been in. She's been in a handful of smaller things. It also stars Pablo Schreiber as Mad Sweeney. Now, this shocked me when I realized where he came from. Anyone watch Orange is the New Black? Or even see a little bit of Orange is the New Black from Netflix? He is Porn Stash.
Yep.
I had so different because in American Gods, he's a red-headed leprechaun, Mad Sweeney, but he played freaking Porn Stash like the lead dude in the prison at Orange is the New Black on Netflix. That's
Yep.
that threw me away or blew me away. A couple other well-known actors that are also in this. Crispin Glover. He's more of like
Mr. World.
Yeah, he plays Mr. World. He plays one of the newer gods in this show. And he's most notably known as George McFly in Back to the Future. That's Marty McFly's father, and he hasn't been
That's
in
his dad?
he hasn't been in a lot of things, but Crispin Glover is one of those old school actors, that you just know when you hear the name where he's from. Other notable actors, Ian McShane. This dude has been in so many things. He's never done a lot of major roles, but he's been in so much. He's kind of like the Sean Connery of Hollywood today, where he's just been in everything. He's most known he plays Mr. Wednesday, but he's most notably known in the show Deadwood, which went 3 or 4 seasons. And you might also recognize him as Blackbeard from the Pirates of the Caribbean film On Stranger Tides. But that's just recent notables. He's been in a crap ton of other things, Ian McShane, and he's a really good actor, in my opinion.
Yeah. You can't forget about him in the Game of Thrones either.
Oh, he wasn't in very many episodes. I forget which character he played, but I recognized him.
Brother Ray.
Yeah, Brother Ray.
Yeah.
With the Hound.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay. Yeah, it's all coming back. A couple other notables, just
Cloris
maybe
Leachman.
You guys may or may not know him, but what?
Cloris Leachman. The lady.
Which one's that?
Zarya Vechenyen. She's one of the old gods.
Oh, I didn't post that one because it wasn't at the top of the cast listing. I can't remember which one she played.
Orlando Jones.
Yeah,
no, you're fine, dude. You're fine. And Orlando Jones, dude, I just love his classic, like coming of age, sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Hold on. He's got that outbursty, gospel-y, African-American personality that, let me tell you a story. And anyway, I love his character. And the other notable that I wanted to particularly mention is Gillian Anderson. As a newer god, she plays Media. She is Mulder and Scully. She's been in a lot of things, but she's most notably known as Mulder's partner or Scully's partner. God dang it! I'm just sorry. X-Files, guys. X-Files.
And she's new Media. Well,
yeah, she's like
Media.
She's modern day Media.
Oh,
go ahead, Lynn.
No,
sorry. Okay, I was gonna say she portrays some characters like she speaks to you through like TV and sound, and our lead character Shadow Moon meets her for the first time in like a store where he's walking down an aisle of TVs, and she speaks to him as frickin' I Love Lucy.
Yep.
And she's incredible. Like, with the makeup and everything, she pulled off all these characters beautifully. Like, she looked like the original Lucy Liu.
Like, the second
Lucille
time
Ball.
The second time that he meets her, she's in a TV in a limo, and she's got that phony blonde hair. The plastic.
Oh, she had some crazy psychedelic paint on her face. But then she also was very well, most notably recognized as Marilyn Monroe. When she floated in to the interrogation room to talk to Dr. Wednesday and Shadow Moon, she was just floating on the air, and anyway. And then there's like Boy Technical. He's kind of like a young 20-year-old kid that he's a future god that speaks through all technology, dubstep, music, whatever.
My favorite character is Peter Stormare as Chernabog, the Black Hammer.
Mm.
Yes.
Was he kind of like the Grim Reaper guy?
No, he was when Wednesday and Shadow seek like safe haven from Mr. World and Media.
Was that when they visited the Texan guns everywhere town?
No. He's like in a freaking wife beater, and he's got a sledgehammer.
Oh my god, I have it listed here, dude. From Prison Break, freaking Peter Stormare. He played John Abruzzi.
Yeah, he's also
nerd sidey note. I'm D2 for mentioning that.
Yep. Dead Orbit Quartermaster
Jalal.
He's also the psychiatrist from Until Dawn.
And he also played Satan in the Constantine film starring Neo, freaking
Keanu
Reeves.
Bill and Ted. Yeah, Keanu Reeves, man. Yeah, he played Satan in Constantine, among many other things.
Give me the nerd card. Give me the nerd card.
I loved.
That was not a big enough slight, Nick. Come on.
I loved him as Chernabog in this. He's true to his all of the roles that he's ever played. Just his voice acting and everything.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. But anyway, so I don't want to. We gotta get close to wrapping up here, guys. But I would say the show as it is just very visual. They don't shy away from showing you really grotesque or gory scenes. It's very adult. It's very on the adult side of Stars, what you would expect to see if this were HBO or anything else. I apologize if I get this wrong, but Yetid Badaki, she plays the goddess Bilquis. The most shocking thing you guys will ever see is in the first episode. This African American goddess is leading this middle-aged guy, white dude who's just looking to get off, and maybe his life sucks or something, and so kind of like a prostitute, if you will. He goes into another bedroom. He tries to treat her with respect, but the thing about her is she's kind of like the sex god from Egyptian times, and I'm just gonna say it out there, guys. Cover your ears or skip forward. It's a bit dramatic here. I never thought I would see a vagina eating scene like this, and let me rephrase that. The guy gets eaten up, sucked up into her vagina. I was just like, oh, what is going on? She basically, while he's having sex with her, she almost hypnotizes him just into a headspace of lust and just completely lost. He doesn't he's just a lost human being, and she's just asking him to worship her, and he just loses his mind. And as he's losing his mind, she kind of gets bigger and bigger, almost like a giant, and then he just kind of slowly disappears down south. I'm trying to keep it clean here. The rabbit hole, if you will, and we'll just move on from there. Very shocking scene. Definitely not for any. Definitely.
Well, it's Stars for you.
Not for kids. Don't watch this, kids. If you're listening, don't watch this.
No.
But
Orlando Jones's character is pretty pretty fantastic in this as well as
I love him.
Urson Yancey,
Hmm.
the spider god.
Yeah, really interesting role, and he kind of like a spider weaves webs of story. Like he loves telling stories. The other interesting thing about this show is that every episode opens up with kind of a historical event, kind of like a. It opens up with another dude that's kind of writing a book, kind of jotting down a story, and we got some fur on Lynn's face there. That's just his cat passing by. So every episode, like the first episode opened up with like these Vikings making it to land and trying to survive and showcasing how they talk to or speak to or pray to their gods. Kind of each episode opens up with an interesting cultural spin. Um, and I'm bringing that up because so, like the first one, the first. Say that again, Lynn.
It's the comparison of old and new.
Right. It's kind of like what you see happening here somehow is contrasted later in the episode as to how that's kind of reflected in modern times. So with the Nancy character, with Jones, he, in episode 2 or 3, I think it was the very second episode, he's on a boat being run by the Dutch, and down below it's a boat full of slaves, black slaves, being transported to the new land. And Nancy freaking shows up on the boat in a tuxedo straight out of the 60s, talking to these slaves from like the 1800s or something, or early 1900s, and he understands them. They're talking in their native language, but he continues talking to the audience in plain English. And he looks down at one of the slaves, and one of the slaves is just asking for help, like water, he's thirsty. And then Nancy goes into a whole spiel, basically telling all these slaves how the reality of their journey is, how these white folk are going to do nothing but brutalize them and treat them as slaves. It's just a very blatant, bold story of the history of slavery, and he said, you're going to deal with this he's very blunt, very brutal about the story, saying, you're going to deal with this for the next 300 years, just telling them how it is. And he basically kind of feeds their anger, and the opening scene leads them to them all freeing, rebelling, basically leading them to believe that, they'd rather die on the boat taking them out than continue living life as slaves. And they set fire to the ship, and that's the whole. It's just crazy, dramatic, poetic, historical. I thought it was a very bold introduction for episode 2, and they kind of do similar, history introductions throughout the show. I don't want to spoil the rest of them. It's a bit hard to take in if you're not ready to see the crazy world of Neil Gaiman, as far as how Stars decided to portray it for an adult audience. Because Neil Gaiman also, maybe not a lot of you know, he's also the original writer for the book Coraline, and although that was adapted later on,
great movie.
Yeah, I mean, it was adapted for kids, and it's still a very dark film, Coraline. But if you can see just a glimpse of that, you know what you're going to expect with American Gods. It's just very in your face and dark and interesting. It's not all dark. It's not all nonstop dreary and twisted. It starts out that way, and it kind of pulls you in, and you just want to know what's going to happen with our lead character and what does Mr. Wednesday have planned for him. And the finale of the season, no spoilers here, you guys just got to watch it. Crazy twist, because you're suspecting that the whole time you're suspecting Mr. Wednesday is more than just an elusive con artist. You're like, there's something more to him. And a big, huge twist in the finale, you're like, holy crap, where is this going to go now? And I'm on board for season 2, 100%. My personal rating on this is 10 out of 10. Lynn, I'd love you to give me just a couple quick points, maybe if you could, about differences with the
Okay,
books and whether or not that affects your perspective.
me coming into it, I love the show. I really did. Okay, Robin coming into it, she absolutely hated it, and it all comes down.
She's a book.
It comes down to the depiction of Shadow Moon, the character that they picked to portray him. It's a little off from the book because he's a lot more stronger and more
reactionary.
Yeah, not as whiny or wimpy as this Shadow Moon portrays him.
Shadow Moon in the show seems very numb to things happening around him.
Like,
that he's not completely shocked by things that happen. Is that similar or very different?
Kinda, but at the same time, he in the book he knows more how to react.
So he's just more confident with.
Yeah, he's a lot stronger. He's not as, I guess, in the show he seems a bit whiny and a bit confused, whereas in the book the only thing he really questions is Mr. Wednesday and a few other aspects like the leprechaun and some other things that come in. And then and segueing in, Mr. Leprechaun is another thing. The book and the show deviate from each other. In the book, the Leprechaun never meets the wife. Like not until
that's for those that end up watching the show. That's very different. From the book.
He doesn't run into her in the book until like way late in the book, almost the end. And in the show,
interesting.
In the show, you know where he runs into her, and the coin apparently has more leverage in the show than it does in the book.
Interesting. Okay, I mean, I respect Robin being a bigger fan of the books, and not enjoying.
Well, it
some of the changes maybe.
There were, and like when they introduce who Mr. Wednesday actually is another thing. Like you find out early on in the show who Mr. Wednesday is, but in the book.
Well, hold up. I'd just like to clarify. You mean you learn earlier on in the books, because I didn't find out who he really was until the finale.
Oh, you didn't put two and two together at the beginning with the Ravens?
No, not even close. I don't even I would love to spoil it right now, but I don't see the connection at all.
Even saying Ravens at the beginning, it'll spoil it for some people.
Because I just want Lynn to clarify for me why that connection is easily made. Do you care to be spoiled, or do you want to wait and watch the show on your own?
Couldn't spoil it.
Okay, so Mr. Wednesday turns out to be Zeus.
No.
Now
he's not Zeus. He's supposed to be
Odin. That's what I meant. So how do the Ravens connect to Odin?
Oh,
it doesn't make sense to me at all. I don't know anything about Odin, apparently.
Human and Huron, the ravens, the two ravens that Odin has. He has one raven on each shoulder.
I have no knowledge or history on all the Greek gods, especially Odin. So that was a legitimate surprise for me.
Oh, well, they
a complete surprise, because yes, I saw the ravens throughout. I knew there was something to that, but I didn't know it meant that he was Odin. No clue.
Well, I mean, and then when you meet Mr. World for the first time, he kind of Mr. World hints towards it, and then Media throughout, she acknowledges his lineage and his hierarchy, and she doesn't want to tread on his toes, but New Media doesn't give a shit, throughout the show.
Right. Yeah.
She doesn't care. But
anyway, just to conclude my confusion.
Odin, also in Germanic and Norse mythology, is called Woden. Wednesday derives from Woden's Day.
Mm-hmm.
which is based off of Odin. So Mr. Wednesday is Mr. Odin.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense if you know your ancient English dialects and historical connections to language. I don't know that at all, dude.
And see, like the episode where Mr. World like starts ripping people apart and beating the shit out of Shadow with all those clones or whatever. The Ravens are there the entire time watching over Shadow.
So the thing is that I understood they respected Mr. Wednesday. I understood he was a very potentially powerful god and very old and very at the top of everyone else. I got all that. My problem is I've never understood Odin at all. Therefore, never understood that Odin was at the highest point of god hierarchy for whatever mythology he comes from. Norse.
He's the Allfather.
Yeah, he's the Allfather.
Okay, so real quick, just quick clarification. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Odin is Norse. Like hold on. Odin is from Norse.
Norse mythology.
And so he is the king daddy of Norse mythology. Correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's the top.
Okay, so now refresh my memory. Zeus is completely Greek. Mm-hmm. And Zeus is the head of Greek mythology?
Correct.
He's the king of Olympus.
Okay.
Well, the head that actually started
here's the thing.
Kronos.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Kronos.
I know we don't have to go into a whole history lesson right now. The reason I made no connections is because I know way more, and the fiction I'm personally writing is entirely based on Greek mythology. I don't know jack shit about Norse mythology. That's why.
Like Hela or Fjörnir.
Only from the movies, dude. I'm not kidding you. You can take my nerd card if you like, but I don't know Norse mythology outside of the Thor movies.
Oh shit.
I don't. I've never seen cartoons, comics, or anything related to Thor. I don't know any of the old Thor shit. I'm just completely a blank case when it comes to Norse mythology.
I could honestly say if you like Greek mythology,
yeah,
Norse mythology is 100 times cooler and more interesting. Their stories are crazy.
Yeah, I just don't ever talk about it because I don't know anything about it, and I'm not against learning about it. But that's why American Gods was a fairly huge twist for me because I went into it knowing nothing.
Well, see, and that I guess that's kind of what I was getting at is in the book they don't even release the information about the Ravens until towards the end.
Yeah.
And in the show they hint towards it early on, like in the Big Heist episode. Like they hint towards him being Odin. And you get samples of it earlier on in the show.
Like rewatching it, I will obviously see all that. But my first time through, it was just, I'm not upset about that. It was enjoyable to be surprised, truly, because it was just like, oh my god! In the finale of the episode, it was epic. I was like, oh wow, okay.
Well, see, and my thing is their incorporation of gods from all different sorts of mythology. Like you don't just get Greek, you don't just get Norse, you get freaking Slovakian gods, you
Egyptians,
you get freaking African gods, you get everything in the show, and it's all their depiction of what has taken over gods for nowadays as opposed to what gods were of the old. Because nowadays it's, like what the thing shows, world, media, communication, and just utter bullshit nowadays. We don't have like the gods of old.
Right. Anyway, let's wrap up the episode, get back to it. So, I said 10 out of 10. You made a couple points of differences. You started talking about differences.
Me, personally, I will give it an 8 or 9 out of 10. Robin would probably give it like a 5 or a 6.
Yeah.
But but her 5 or 6 would be from straight like book comparison to show comparison, and that's there's always going to be a different step there between the two of them. But
Did she?
coming into it from my aspect, I liked the show. I really did, and especially the depiction of the old gods.
Mm-hmm. Word.
But what were you saying about did she?
Oh, I was. Yeah, we can wrap up now. I was just wanted to ask if, even though obviously she criticizes it for being that different, did she enjoy it less, or did she just enjoy it as it was at all?
She didn't even make it through season 1.
Oh, okay. That's ouch. Yeah,
She didn't care for it. She didn't make it through season 1.
I gotcha. Okay. I was just curious. So you Neil Gaiman book readers out there, either be open-minded in knowing that there's some dramatic differences, or steer clear. I highly recommend it as a show on its own merits, not being familiar with the book material.
And that's the way you have to go into it, is knowing that it is an adaptation of the book, and I enjoyed it.
Right. Yeah. Same here. Well, guys, show ran a little long this week, but had a lot of things to talk about and catch up on. I'm going to just wrap us up quickly. You guys know where to find us, nerdentialsmedia.com, iTunes and Google Play. All our social media links are under the same name. Just Google search Nerdentials. We're the first thing that pops up, I promise you. That's going to wrap up episode 42 this time around for your Nerdy Essentials. For me, Nick, and Lynn, as always, nerds, we'll see you on the other side. Doses! Okay,